Hi, I'm Charlene Freeman, and welcome to my tutorial on continuous line contour drawing. This approach to drawing can build confidence while teaching how to slow down and be more observant. This is a great way to get comfortable with drawing in a sketchbook or drawing in an impressionistic style. For this tutorial, I'm using my Stillman and Byrne Beta Series sketchbook. This is a lovely, thick watercolor paper, and the size of my sketchbook is 12 inches by 8.5 inches. I'm using a Micron pen 08. Micron pens are waterproof so that later I can come back in and paint with my watercolor paints and not have to worry about the ink bleeding into them. I like the 08 tip because it's thicker than the other pens I have in my set, and I just enjoy the way they look in my contour drawing studies. So what exactly is a continuous line contour drawing? The continuous line part of that name means that you try not to pick up your pen at all throughout the drawing. And the contour drawing part of that name means that you're really focused on the edges or the outline of the subject you're drawing. So I've chosen to draw this lovely picture with flowers in it and a big tag on it. I've learned to not just jump right in and start drawing. Before I even touch pen to paper, I study my subject and my paper and decide where do I want to begin so that the entire subject will fit on the page. I want to be sure that when I put down my pen to make my first marks, I'm putting them in a place that will allow the entire subject to fit on the page. Once I begin my drawing, I really make an effort not to pick up my pen until the drawing is finished. This allows us to connect shapes that normally wouldn't be connected, in addition to connecting shapes that really are connected in our subject. It also allows you to be more spontaneous and playful with your drawing, not taking yourself too seriously. At the same time, you are learning to be observant, and all drawing is based on observation. You want to allow your eyes to slowly study the edges of all the shapes in your subject. And as your eye is crossing over those edges, you get your hand and pen to follow the same contour. That's the contour part of a continuous line contour drawing. The idea is always to spend more time looking at your subject than looking at your drawing. If you don't look at your subject and you're spending all your time looking at your drawing, you're really drawing out of your memory or your imagination. And unless you have a really good memory or have studied a lot of subjects and can draw them from your imagination, chances are you won't be really satisfied with the results of your drawing. To draw realistically or at least capture the likeness of your subject, you really have to spend time observing the subject. Let your eyes follow the outline of each shape in your subject slowly. While your eye follows the shape, your hand and pen follow what your eyes see. My subject of this bouquet of flowers is pretty confusing in the center. I'm not going to sit there and count every single petal, but rather I'm drawing in the edges that are most obvious to me, that I see most clearly. And that's really enough for a sketchbook impression. By focusing more time on your subject than on your drawing, you'll spend less time making things up and more time observing. It's not so much about hand-eye coordination because if you can sign your name on a line, you have hand-eye coordination. But this slow looking exercise lets you start connecting what you see with your eye with what your hand is drawing. Drawing with one continuous line also gives you a chance to slowly observe instead of rushing through the drawing. Your hand cannot move that pen as quickly as your eye could scan an image. So this also teaches your eyes to slow down, which is another way of saying it teaches your brain to slow down and really be observant. I really encourage you to do these in ink. They have a cool look in ink, but it also helps to resist the urge to keep stopping the process of observation and drawing and start erasing and correcting. I've seen a lot of students that can't get through a drawing because they want every part of it to be perfect, and they'll spend an entire drawing session drawing and erasing the same 3 or 4 shapes instead of just moving on. And ink really teaches you that you have to move on, you can live with these mistakes, and that if you slow down, you'll make less of them. Since you can't see my face and my hand at the same time in this video, it might be hard for you to understand exactly what I'm looking at. But I can assure you that I'm looking at the reference photo more than my drawing, and I'm working really slowly. Once in a while, my eye goes back to my drawing, but sometimes I'm even drawing without looking at my hand. You don't have to do this unless you want to challenge yourself. I'm also fine with living with mistakes, so I may be drawing more quickly than you feel comfortable drawing. So slow down and draw at whatever pace you like. Try not to pick up your pen. If once in a while you forget about this continuous line drawing business and you pick up your pen by mistake, please don't start over. Just put your pen back down and get back to drawing. Now that you've seen my process and just how slowly I'm working my way through each petal and each leaf, I'd like to speed up the video to twice the speed at which I was drawing. Although I love classical drawing, which is very slow and focused on accuracy, I have to say that continuous line contour drawing is my favorite way to keep a sketchbook. It allows me to catch impressions of things and in a fairly quick way. The more time you're willing to observe your subjects, the more you'll connect with it. And as you draw your world around you, you'll also connect with your world in a deeper way when you start applying these drawings to your sketchbook. In a way, for me, keeping a sketchbook is just an excuse or a vehicle for learning how to connect more deeply, spend more time observing everything around me. As I work my way through this jumble of leaves and petals and stems, it can be tempting again to stop observing the subject and just start making it up, rushing through the drawing. But that's not the point of this sketch. The point is to draw slowly and connect with each petal and each leaf. We all live such fast-paced lives and have a high degree of efficiency that it might just seem silly to sit here and draw and observe the edge of each petal, each leaf, each stem. But I want to encourage you to give yourself the gift of time that it takes to draw this way. You'll be much happier for it. Don't give yourself another task to rush through, but rather slow down and connect with what you're doing. For example, all these little leaves on the left-hand side, I'm not counting them, but I am trying to get as many of these little leaves into my drawing as it takes to recreate the impression of them. As I finish up all the leaves and petals and work my way down to the picture, I have to slow down to look at the exact angles of some of these edges. I'm really paying attention to how steep is this angle, how long is it, how round is the curve at the bottom of the picture, and I'm still trying to keep my pen on the paper continuously. By drawing from observation, you're drawing what you see instead of what you think an object might look like or should look like. And this is the trick to doing art and seeing the world the way an artist sees the world. We draw what we see, not what we know. So what does that mean to draw what you see? I'm referring to, as I work my way through this drawing, the things I'm considering are, how long should I make this line? At what angle is it? At what point does it change direction? Is it curved? Is it jagged? These are the kinds of questions we ask ourselves as drawing artists. I think these continuous line contour drawings can stand just beautifully as an ink drawing. However, I love applying a watercolor wash to my sketches. I also really like the look of watercolor and ink together. I'll speed up the video as I do a light wash of color throughout this sketch. I use Daniel Smith watercolors. I've painted with this brand for over a decade and I really enjoy these paints, but there are a lot of great brands out there. In my studio, I have a large palette that I squeeze my paints into, but for sketching, I love this pocket palette. You can buy it at arttoolkit.com, and it comes with empty wells, allowing you to squeeze in your own favorite paints. It's about the size of a business card, and I really love it for going out and sketching. I hope I've convinced you of the benefits and the fun you can have with continuous line contour drawings. You can pick several objects in your house or even photographs to work from and give them a go. Focus on drawing just the outline of the shape. Don't get lost in details. Don't be overly concerned about accuracy or shading. Just let yourself enjoy the process of having your eyes slowly travel along the edges of your subject and having your hand try to capture what you see with pen on paper. If you find yourself speeding up or rushing through the drawing, stop and slow down. Come back tomorrow if you don't have time to really spend observing and drawing. The more time you're willing to put into it, the happier you'll be with your final results. And not just with the final result, but the happier you'll be with the whole drawing process. It's so enjoyable to slow down and let yourself observe your world. As I finish up my watercolor wash, I decide to pick up my pen one more time and draw in the tabletop. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and that I've convinced you to give continuous line contour drawing a try. Thanks for joining me.